All right, ladies and gents of YouTube land, this is Matt Sawyer, and having fun with these live anything can happen tutorial videos. So this is a tutorial on Etude 2, this year's the 2017-2018 TMEA All-State Jazz Saxophone Etude 2, which is written by Warren Sneed over at Houston or High School Performing Visual Arts (HSPVA) in Houston. So this is a beautiful etude, and I'm going to play it for you. All right, so that's Etude 2, and yeah, have to internalize these things. I just do that by looking at it. I don't have photographic memory or anything, but I look at the Etude and just try to do a line or two and sing it and just play it over and over. And the reason why I like to internalize it is because there's different things that you can do with the ballad to give you, a really mature recording of it once you record for the state level or do a really good job at region. So I've always thought, even with the classical, especially with the classical etudes, that it's the ballad or the slow piece, the lyrical piece as they call it, that really can give you the desired edge, because it takes a lot of maturity to play something slow. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to start from the end and work backwards. One of the spots that really stands out to me, that's a little awkward technically, but it's a very simple thing, is a couple of lines from the end, the A arpeggios. Okay, so it's all marked with the phrase marking and no articulation. So it's really good to go, to try to figure out where you want to articulate. And a good spot would be any time that there's a break, so you can get a more smooth sound rather than. There's a lot of saxophonistic things about that don't sound very good. So you can tongue the beginning of certain phrases like. And that'll give you more definition, and then the overall phrasing will still sound connected and lyrical. And you can experiment and find different spots in that you would slur instead of tongue or tongue. But I don't like sounding like you've closed your throat on the higher notes, like. So you don't want that high note to squeeze out. You want it to sound really good. Okay, Now, just overall on the whole etude, I know we're working backwards, but just overall, if you can play a lot of things, I'm not talking about circular breathing because I don't know how to do that, but I do know how to deep breathe, and I use what I've learned on flute to help me with breathing on saxophone, because saxophone players, we tend to breathe from here, like chest breathing. We just get one of those, and we sound pretty decent when we do that, but we could sound amazing if we breathe deep and use like a real legitimate breath. So breathing from your diaphragm and just thinking like a flute player or a trumpet player. They got to use a lot of air. Rather than that kind of breath, expel your air and then try. You're going to get a bigger, more desirable sound if you breathe really well. But also, that's going to help you with your phrasing, so longer phrasing. So jumping around just a little bit, I hate doing that, but at the beginning of the etude, your first phrase is really short. I mean, that's so short. And you could argue that it connects to the next phrase, but this next phrase is super long. Kind of a nice moment if you play that note kind of soft, and notice that I didn't take a breath through all of that. And that's just, I'm trying to find a spot that would sound good to take a breath. So okay, so you notice I took breaths in like all those spots. So it's up to you to find which one you like. Some of them are better than others, and some students will sound better, tapering something and then taking a breath. So a good example there would be see, then it almost, it still sounds good. Taper the A. Or you could breathe before the E to the C. So both are fine. Or you could do what I did and you just make the whole phrase in one breath. It's a little dangerous because, when you get to how much, gas do you have in the tank at that point? Okay, so that's the only time I want to jump around. We're still going to move backwards. So breath, breathing is a big concept in this etude because it's going to give you the right concepts. Like, how long do you want your phrases to be? What is the mature phrase? And so anyway, working backwards. This is the climax of the piece. So you can play that all rich and creamy, And then, there are many different ways to interpret this piece. I've heard them where there's a lot of ornaments, a la lead alto big band. And then you just don't want to overdo it, I guess. But, it's up to interpretation. I like to express what I want to do with the etude in other ways besides ornaments, like adding stuff in. See if I can figure out how to make it sound really good without any inflections. So even from the beginning of the Etude. See, at that point, I've crescendoed, and I'm making a bigger deal out of something later. It also helps people to really listen to you if you are not just playing full volume. It's just kind of obnoxious. It's too much, you know, in your face. So it would be good to as long as you do it with the full sound, it's not some thin, you know. You know, no air support. So you can sound really bad doing that. But your concept needs to be, where do I want to bring out my lines? So see, I'm picking there to decrescendo and let it be more airy. Maybe too airy. It's a little risky. But then that way, this next phrase is super nice. I can't remember what it is. So, yeah. And then here I'm doing an anti-contour, meaning that instead of following the shape of the line, I'm doing the opposite. So as my notes go down, I'm crescendoing instead of going. You know, I'm doing. Yeah, but with a better tone. It's so tempting to go. You know, but try to practice it without any inflections, and then, you know, like your tone without inflections, you know, because it's easy to have a good tone going, you know. So, you know, if you do too much inflection, it can distract. And some judges don't like that. But there's some merit, especially you have a strong first and third etude, rock solid. You can get away with a little bit of inflection, but I think there are so many other things about the etude where you don't have to do any inflection at all. See. Like right here is a good spot for inflection. Instead of maybe. And you calm yourself down. This is all big retardando. So you can look at it as it's in tempo until the last phrase. Like that, you can slow that down. Or you can look at it like it's just all calming to the end, a la Debussy's Syrinx. It's kind of the way I look at it. So, you know, it's very calming to the end. Yeah, and you gotta have enough air to get down to that low E and really hold it out. Okay, I wanted to work backwards, but I jumped around. Okay, so I kind of addressed, you know, how I feel about the etude and where some of the climactic points are. That's a huge one, you know. You get a big, nice sound there, you know, like Chris Potter, Michael Brecker. Oh, man, I tell you, it can really, really be a big deal. You want to give those judges goosebumps. And that's a spot to do it, especially if you've just played it so well till that point. So there are many ways to approach this etude. Let's go back to the beginning. How much vibrato do you use, you know? And slower is arguably better, right? Instead of kind of weird. Okay, do you use any alternate fingerings? Not necessary, maybe. And I'm using bis there, but using the side D there is kind of weird. Use full D to give it more richness since you are playing soft. If you're confused about any of the rhythms, you just need to break them down by looking at what you do know, like in that spot, 3 and 4 and just breaking it down like that. You know, so. Okay, so there are easier ways to break down the rhythms, and one of them is to look at what you do know and see how long the duration of those beats are. So a lot of those are really clear, like it's like a bracket of just the 2/16ths, and then there's the triplet 16ths. Ba da di da da da, da da di da da da, 1, ba da di da da 2 and 3, you know. Zuba dee da da dee da doo da. Now, practicing this this etude with a metronome is the most important one to practice a metronome with, because you're not going to sound rigid. You're just going to sound confident. Then you can explore moments of floatiness, similar to what you would do with your classical etudes. It's good to have a concept of who you want to sound like. I want to sound like John Coltrane, so I just think of how he would play this etude. See how, he definitely played kind of like that on a ballad. Not smeary, but you can do stuff with your tone that's not an inflection. It's just more of your, like, getting your tonal center there, maybe a little delayed. Okay. All right. So just exploring where you can articulate in these long phrases. This is a really well-written etude, by the way. So. You don't want any notes to pop out or stick out too much. Yeah, my concept that I do every year on these etudes is like, I just want it to sound like a dream, man. If you can get somebody to just be like, oh, God. That's what you want. And then they don't know what to do other than write positive things. Like, man, I was in a trance. The student played the tar out of that. They just played it beautifully. That's what you have to do with your lyrical etude. And man, that can really give you some serious points. So yeah, you can experiment with a couple of those, and if you did one, it might be good. You can argue this. I mean, there are some really good versions of this being played that do have inflections, and inflections are not a bad thing. I just think if you're going to practice, if I'm going to practice what I preach, I like them with less inflection, and just playing it confidently and putting someone in a trance with it, not letting inflections kind of get in the way with how, when someone's listening to it, they're not like, this guy's inflecting everything. rather than, just being in a trance. You don't want to have any distractions. And that's one way to do it, is to just stick to what, because I think one of the biggest concepts here is if the etude has too much inflection, then you're not showing what you understand about the etude, and it can be a distraction. So, and jazz is not necessarily, I've got to interpret everything in the etude. Better to just look at the rhythms and the notes and play them true to the etude, and then you can add a couple of things if you feel like it's a mature thing. It needs to sound like not your teacher told you, but it needs to sound like it really came from within. So you're playing this beautiful etude. If you did something like that, it would be very mature rather than... Maybe you don't want it to sound like that. Maybe you want it to have that. And that's going to be really clear if you've really understood a lot of the concepts of the etude. All right, so enough rambling. Okay. Let's see. Like I said, here I like to push. I get my mouth, I drop my jaw a little bit, I get it fatter. See, and more than inflections, the vibrato can really dictate. Almost like your director's going, and there's your last note. Piano's going crazy. So it's a really nice kind of big band moment there, I think. If you can think of yourself not as a saxophone player, but as a pianist or, another rhythm instrument, it can really help conceptually on an etude like this. So it's good to look at all the 16th spots and make sure you're playing all the right rhythms, and you're practicing with the metronome, and you're hearing, you have the subdivisions on. Maybe the 16th subdivision is good. And you're just able to... See, there's a spot where you can, because you played with the metronome, you're able to relax the phrase a little bit. And then you can let your passion make it sound like it's rushing, but it's not really rushing, So you're putting the passion into it, and you're, instead of playing on the back of the beat, you're driving it forward, and that's going to sound like just a really emotional spot. And I don't know. There's so many ways to interpret it, and you have, a few months to really look at how you can interpret each part of the phrase. let's do the opposite. Let's say we decrescendo, which is another way to look at the etude. And crescendo there instead of decrescendo, or keep it stagnant, or you lose the vibrato, maybe do a delayed vibrato, or you start with vibrato and take it away. You know, za da dee da 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 dee da dee da da. 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Question is, what mouthpiece and reeds do I use? This is a Charles Bay. I'm really proud of it. I've been playing on it since 2000. Actually, before 2000. So it's an amazing mouthpiece. I don't. My dog ate one of them, like chewed, lovingly. Love that dog. He chewed, the mouthpiece up, and so I got a different one. So it's not as good as the first one I had, but it's still pretty dang good, and it's lasted all this time. Sometimes it doesn't give me as big of a sound as I want, but I think that's just me not practicing enough, trying to play big, because if you want to sound like players that just fill a room, like keep going back to Michael Brecker and Chris Potter, just hearing those guys live, they fill a room. But anyway, that's a Charles Bay mouthpiece, Charles Bay Ligature, model 8EJ, and the reed is a Van Doren classical cut, because jazz reeds sound terrible on this mouthpiece, like with this setup. So I use classical cut reeds, 2.5s and 3s, pretty soft reeds. Just always have and always taken too little mouthpiece. I'm not saying it's too late to change. I'm kind of old school in that regard. But anyway, that's what I play on, classical cut Van Doren blue box reeds. Because I use jazz reeds on my alto, but on the tenor I use this bad boy. And then the saxophone I'm excited to talk about is a balanced action, super balanced action. And for years I thought it was from 1947. It's actually 52. Found out that from John Ledbetter, who went to school with, and he's in New York. Makes he's a repair guy and incredible saxophone player, incredible person to have work on your horns. Has an unbelievable shop. So somebody to look into, John Ledbetter. All right, but anyway, the tenor is from 1952, and I picked this over a Mark VI. Mostly because at the time I was like really into the collector thing, and you can see there's stair steps on the saxophone right here that go straight down, and those stair steps are what make it collector. So it was an extra $1,500 just for a collector. So the horn was expensive and is worth a lot. I'll keep my hands on it. So anyways, just excited about this horn, and I was told that it was one of the horns. It's a Coltrane horn, one of the horns that he used and played on, but probably not for like a long period or anything like that. But all those guys played on lots of different horns, and these vintage horns, have that kind of story usually, anyways. But pretty cool. Thanks for asking about that. Delighted to talk about it. All right, so. Everything triplety in this etude needs to have that chocolatey, like rich, da 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 da, ba ba do da dee, ba do da dee da dee da 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 dee da da da. That's a cool thing. Rather than, don't be so in the box on them. Be more, not floaty, but, bring them out. experimenting with maybe get to the bottom and maybe not play at subtone. But I do like the subtone better. So, you know, it's what will sound the best and more comfortable for you, and you'll sound like you're giving it the etude what it needs. So to recap, it's a lot of things if you stuck with me this long. Basically, you have this etude that's lyrical, beautiful, and you need to have a concept. It can't just be notes. And you know, I think a lot of you that do get to the state level, you're not thinking in that regard anyway. You're trying to make some music out of it. So it's helpful to you know to look at the etude. You know, the chords are on the top of it, so it's nice to like maybe get you transpose it for a piano player, guitar player, or whatever, and have them, you know, play the chords with you while you play it. Turn it into something that's not an etude. Etude's kind of an ugly word. It's like something to study, but man, make some music out of this, you know. So that's kind of what I have on this etude. You know, where to put vibrato, where to bring things out. You know, to be really particular about all the rhythms and let all the notes speak. If you do all of those things, you know, you're going to have a good performance of this. So good luck. Keep on swinging. Talk to you later.